Hi, everybody. Welcome to Drumfills Kafé. My name is Eric Boudreau. I'm the host of the show. If you don't know the channel, the channel is pretty new. I decided to start that because everybody were in their house. So I think it was a good opportunities for other drummers to talk with other drummer, and people can follow them and they can have information and cues from them. I started the channel in French, and because I'm French Canadian, so there I have a few shows already done. Actually, I will have another show tomorrow, Thursday, at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to watch it, I will talk about that later. First of all, I just want to have a few information. If you didn't know, Drum Channel offer 30 days membership free. You have a 1 month, like a 30 days, you can go check out like drum lessons, like performances. So I really suggest you to go, and you don't have nothing to lose. It's a 30-day free, so it's pretty cool. After that, because everybody stayed in their house, I really suggest you to, if you wanted to buy a kit or like a cymbals, like whatever gear, your local store might be close the door, but they might run online merchandise, or maybe they can take some reservation. So please help your local dealership, store. And if you were planning, sometimes the situation can change, but if you were planning to buy a kit and you still have the money, well, I think they would be super grateful to have like some support in some sort. This is one other thing. To let you know, like today I will have like 4 guesses. The next week I will have another day for guesses. Is Wednesday, and I will have like Raul Vargas, Scott Pilgrim, Lou Santiago Jr., and Todd Zuckerman. So I hope you're gonna be there at that time. Will be super cool. Today there's a live chat on your side. You can ask question. I might not be able to answer all, maybe not. Depends of how the discussion goes with the guests. But please write whatever you want. You can ask like what kind of bass drum that guy use, or what kind of setup, whatever. So if you have any question, use the live chat. So let's go with the first our first guest. It's a friend of mine. It's called Gabor Dornyei. He got a master degree level 7 PG in the University of London. He has he have been awarded by the Fellow of High Education Academy in UK. He is the head of the drum department of Dime Online. This is the Detroit Institute of Music Education Online for UK and United States. He played at Drumeo, Drum Channel, other platform. He's everywhere. He did Modern Drummer, Drum Magazine, Rhythm Drum. He's also sponsored by Pearl, Zildjian, Remo, Vickford, Tycoon Percussion, Roland, Kickport, Skygel. So I would like you welcome my friend Gabor.
Hello, everybody.
How are you
doing? Hello. What's up?
How the thing goes in UK?
Well, it's rather interesting, I would say, with this whole lockdown. I'm not sure what to say. It's something unprecedented, something that we never experienced before.
Mm-hmm.
I was never looking forward to experience it, but we're coping. We're staying strong. We're gonna get through this. We're trying to stay positive, trying to stay focused, and hopefully, if everybody's disciplined and everybody's following the rules and the laws, everybody stays indoors. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, we're gonna see the end of this lockdown.
I hope so. You have your home studio. I can see you have a lot of gear in the back, so you can play in your house, right?
Yes, I'm very, very lucky. I'm in an extremely lucky situation that I've got my very funnily named Gabby Road studio in my garden. Now, for the youngsters or someone who doesn't know, Abbey Road Studio is one of the most famous recording studios in the world. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Dire Straits, all the great British bands and many American bands and all the Europeans recorded at Abbey Road. Probably the famous Abbey Road sessions from the Beatles made the great breakthrough. So I just sort of named my studio after as paying my respect and tribute and to Abbey Road, and because many of my friends call me Gabby, Gabs, whatever.
So you
So
mix.
this is how Gabby Road sort of developed, and I had this fantastic opportunity to play at home, to practice at home, which is sort of the only thing that keeps me sane at this difficult time, because I try to turn this downtime into some creative time. Of course, time is very limited, as we have a 3-year-old
Oh,
little
it's true. You have
one.
a baby. It's true.
Yeah. So we're looking at, of course, all the schools and nurseries and everything is closed. So we are looking after him all day long. And of course, time, we don't have the whole day like back in the good old days, when
No.
when we were younger, and the only thing you had to do was playing drums. That doesn't happen anymore. But I'm trying to utilize my time as well as I can. So I'm trying to practice, and actually I'm in a creative mood, in a sense that I'm playing every day, and I'm writing new music and new rhythms and new compositions. So we're coping well.
Well, I'm super happy to hear that you're still doing well. So let's touch wood, and it's keeping like that. Oh, are you still there? I think you're frozen. Can you hear me? I think Gabor is frozen. Are you hear me? Can you hear us?
We'll be back. Yeah, we'll be back now. Yeah.
Perfect. I would just say that to the people listening. It's possible sometimes there's technical issues. It's not about. There's so many people on internet right now. I called the provider yesterday of that stream platform, and they told me there's nothing we can do. It's possible sometimes there's some some trouble, like listening people or freezing images. So sorry about that. If it's happened again, maybe I will log you out and log you in back. It's possible. Well, but you will started talk about. We want to know about you a bit. So how you started to play drums? What was the fire point? Like one day you were you had an eliminations. I want to do that thing.
Well, I'm to be honest, I'm not really sure. In the sense that we had no musicians in my family. So
okay.
my father was a lawyer, and my mom is an economist, and my sister is the director of one of Europe's biggest market research companies. And so it's a very highly educated family, but nobody played any music, let alone the drums. Nobody played the drums. So for me, it was very, very instinctive, in the sense that I just felt the rhythm, and I started bashing along. I just started playing along to my favorite Metallica records, because my sister and I were big rockers in my childhood, and I still love them. They're great. And I was all the rock bands and metal bands. I just felt the rhythm. I felt the energy. I felt the urge to just play along. We didn't have any musical instrument, not even a piano or a keyboard, or not to mention drums in our house. So I just felt the rhythm. I enjoyed music, and I started, just tapping along. And I used everything I found in the kitchen, all the tools to make
pots and pans and all. Yeah.
Although it might sound funny, because then we spend the rest of our lives, on developing gear and purchasing gear, and then getting gear for free and whatever, wherever you get to, whichever level you get to, it doesn't matter. I think the main thing is that you keep the same passion.
Oh, for sure.
For drums, and I'm very lucky, and that's the fire I'm trying to look after. There's the passion and the spirit I'm trying to keep, and I find myself the more and more sort of time. I think it was probably over 32 years ago when I started playing, and when I can just shut the door and shut the lights as well and just play my drums, that's the time when I remind myself what was the reason why I started this journey. And I'm still enjoying what I'm doing, and I still enjoy what I play, and I'm trying to get better. And it's the same feeling, when I was playing on the sofa 30 years ago. It literally is the same feeling. So I'm probably one of the luckiest men in the world to be able to do that. And I followed this dream through. It's never been easy. So when people think that, how lucky you've been playing drums all your life. Well, you try to make a living out of playing the drums, and then you say that. So it's oh my god, the things we've been through is it's like I could write a book.
Sometimes playing is only 5-10% because you need to be a businessman. You need to promote yourself. You need to work hard. You need to planificate classes to build like a whatever around what you want to go with. If you want to be like a session drummer, you need to make contacts. It's a hard way, it's a hard path to reach like what you want.
Well, the thing is, unless you make it like big time on a worldwide circuit, you're your own marketing manager, your own fitness manager, you make your own time management. You're trying to run a family. You're trying to be creative. You're trying to stay healthy. You want to be remaining on the scene, so you have to promote yourself. You manage your social media, and then you make your contacts, and then you save up and make to the NAMM show, and you make it to the London drum show, and you travel to Europe, and you're just trying to do like 5 to 10 jobs at the same time.
That's true. But you talk about traveling. Can you tell us about your last tour in Asia? Because I saw you were touring master classes, and it looked like big stuff. You were doing big amphitheater, like with like theater, whatever, with like millions of kids. So can you tell about that?
Yes. I've been very lucky over the last couple of years through several recommendations and international connections. I've been I think I've been probably 10 times over the last 2 years to China. So it's a huge market. It's a 1.7 billion country, basically I started working for multiple agencies and multiple promoters, and through different channels. I traveled. There's a couple of massive organizations out there. One of them is obviously 9 Beats, which is probably the most well known in the western part of the world. And the several other ones. The one is called Lezi, and the other one is called Aspiror. And they all sort of make like 300 to 600 to 900 to 1,500 school chains. So the incredible drum school chains that I started visiting back and forth. And probably the one you're referring to was one of the television centers. That was one of the main sort of national television centers when I did a big show. It was a solo show with my tracks, and I did several drum solos, and there was like I don't know how many thousand in the audience. So you do a drum clinic in London, or you do a drum clinic in LA, or I don't know, and you're happy if 10 people shows up. If my first drum clinic I ever done in China, there was 480 people. 480 people. Nobody knew who I was. I went there. Oh, a Western artist coming to China, and he plays this and that, and he does this, and he teaches here and there, and the house was packed. So they're really keen. They have a great attitude. Luckily, all my tours finished before this whole virus kicked out, and so I sort of nobody was affected by it. And luckily, all my promoters and friends and everybody who lives out there, I'm thinking about them on a daily basis. I look forward to be back there. At the moment, of course, it's not safe to travel, so you don't want to be there. And also, they've been locked up for months and months and months. They just started to ease. I started to lift the whole sort of lockdown situation. Yeah, I mean that's a whole different world. There's a lot of things that is improving all the time. Of course, you always get the one-off sort of wonder child who plays like nobody else, and you see the rest of the people who might not be that well sort of served with information, and they're still hungry to learn and hungry to catch up, and they're very keen, they're very respectful. I always had a great time there. I've been looked after really well. You stay in 5-star hotels, everything is organized really well. Sometimes the backline can be a little bit shaky because they don't necessarily have the professional network of backline companies.
Yeah, they will have like a underrate.
Yeah. So what I learned all my life, in the last 30 years being in this business, is the more flexible you
Yes.
are,
Oh yes.
the further you get.
Oh yes.
But what's the point making a big fuss about something that they're not going to be able to provide? So I have a certain list that I always take with me, which I know going to get me through the show, such as headphone amps and certain percussion
Yeah.
clamps and you name it. So whatever you need to perform. Or there were times that I was traveling with my cable hi-hat because I knew for a fact that they're not going to have it, and it would only And then the more you visit, the more connections you make, and then the more they're going to know you, more they're going to respect you, and then what happens at the end of the day is they learn your rider, and they realize that it's much easier if we buy one of that item and keep it for you there,
Oh, for
and
sure.
whenever you come, it's be there ready for you. So that's the ideal scenario. This is why it's amazing and very, very important to have great sponsors.
Oh, for
Instruments,
sure. That's what I said. They can help you for getting them closest as what you want.
absolutely. There's a massive network of Pearl drums in China. They have a huge school chain called Pearl Club.
Oh yeah, I
The
didn't know that.
Pearl drum schools are they're sponsored by the Pearl China.
Okay.
And they have a huge, I think, 600 schools around China. So it's Pearl Club supports, and this is a great KHS company, a distribution company is doing Zildjian and Remo and Vickford, so they're good. They're all together.
Yeah.
And the Tycoon Percussion's got that I have a signature product with.
Yeah, with the Tycoon.
The Tycoon Percussion signature product, Gabor Dornyei drum pack. They carried by Great Wall Music, which is one of the main, the biggest distributors. So I'm very happy with that. And so at the end of the day, we just somehow make it happen.
But it's good you talk about that, because that was my other question. I don't know if you're like me, but I have like kind of two setup. I'm very flexible, but I have like two setup when I do drum clinics, or I have my main setup like with, let's say, 2 tom, 2 floor, 2 snare, a few cymbals, but I also have my 4-piece kit. So are you the kind of person like that to have like, because you were talking about riders, so like different riders, like depend, like, okay, this is this. So if I cannot have that, I will go with a 4-piece bop, or you always need that kind of setup. How you manage that, like in general?
Well, it's a very interesting thing. Now, I have several views on this. I of course, as I said before, you always have to be flexible.
Oh, for sure.
Even if when I recorded on Drum Channel in LA, I had to be flexible with the gear and how the gear is going to be delivered, and where you're gonna, what colors, what sizes we have, blah blah blah, all that. So there can always be challenges and always.
But that's cool.
Sort of not necessarily difficulties, but surprising facts that come into play. So you always have to be flexible. I've done. I mean, I can't even list the array of gear that I perform. Sometimes you have a 4-piece. Sometimes you have a 5-piece. I mean, for different projects, I have different kits. So when I play sort of acoustic jazz in London, sometimes we play Ronnie Scott's and everything. We have a sort of an acoustic jazz band called the Blakey's Boys, which plays Art Blakey material. So for that, I need a completely different kit. It's like a 18-inch or maximum 20-inch bass drum, 1 rack, 1 floor. It's fine. But even on my solo clinics and when we toured with Thunder Duo, which is my drums and percussion project, sometimes it happened that you just had like a basic 5-piece kit, and then I was traveling with my percussion setup that I use, and basically it's down to the professional artist to make it happen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You have. Okay, so you try to be flexible as much as you can. And you need to be able to perform, because the famous saying, the show must go on. So it's not like, oh, I don't have my 55 rack toms and 29 floor toms. I'm not going to perform. So thanks for flying me out to Singapore. I'm not going to play because I don't have my full rider. Sorry about it. It's just not going to happen. So of course. And it was an interesting experience. once I visited Giorgio Mayer's website and downloaded his rider, and the amount of detail. I mean, I'm talking about 15 years ago or something, 20 years ago, and that sort of the amount of detail in that rider, about the size of the hole on the front head on the bass drum, and these kind of things, and it has to be a 5.5-inch hole and not a 6-inch. So we're talking about ideal world, which has never been the case if you're a musician. One of my favorite saying is Antonio Sanchez, the Pat Metheny's drummer. He said, being a jazz musician is being comfortable being uncomfortable. So you just you got to get used to being uncomfortable, because something's always going to happen on the road. So but the amount of detail I found in that rider sort of inspired me to realize that you need to be aiming for the maximum you can get, of course, because without telling the people, because there are people who actually read through your rider, and
for sure.
and there's been a positive surprise as well. And without telling the people what you actually need, they're never going to find out. So you need to be detailed and aiming for the maximum, and then be happy with whatever they can actually provide. Now, of course, the more professional and more experienced the people you're dealing with are, the more they're going to tell you in advance that, okay, we can get this and this and this. Unfortunately, we can't get that. So you know that, okay, I need to take this one with me, so you don't have to compromise the performance. Because really, the most annoying thing is when they can't be bothered to tell you that we're not going to have this and this item, and you could really easily bring it with yourself had you known that they're not going to have it. So, of course, that's why it's amazing when you work with real professionals who've been there, who play there, and they know that we just need to let him know, and he's going to make it happen one way or the other.
It's true.
And because what you don't want is your life and sacrifice a lot of things to be as good as you can be with your talent and your time and your circumstances and all that considered. And then once you make it to somewhere, you have a big performance that is very important for you at the moment in time, and you have to compromise your performance because the organizers couldn't be bothered to send you an email that, oh, sorry, we don't have that pedal or that size of drum or something. You don't want to compromise your performance because you want to give the maximum you can, because you're there, you live for it, you die for it, and you want to play to the people. So, but these are the things that are always going to happen, and it's always been happening. So there's not much you can do about it. It's just go with the flow and do your best.
And this is good what you just mentioned, because I remember when I was not kid, but like green, like I'm at my beginning of my 20s, I was touring a lot. And
last year.
Yeah, exactly. Last year, like was 2 years ago. Thanks for a reminder. And I was very, very, very like too much on the details with the backline companies sometimes. And I learned from that. And you always learn is experiences will make you learning. And one day I was in Korea. I did a big TV program there, and I did a show offsite, and one of the producers sent one girl from the administration to just say, hey, tomorrow, what do you need, guys? And she took picture of my DW set with the company I was touring with, and I never expect they would do that. And the day after I arrived, and they have exactly what I had, the same DW set, same setup, same symbols. I was like, wow, you did it in one day. They did the research. I was like, okay, thanks. This is actually very cool. But that doesn't happen a lot of time, So
yeah, that's one in a million. But as I said, there are some amazing. I mean, what happened to me once that surprised me the most, that I played a big drum festival in Switzerland in Europe, and it was a great lineup, fantastic lineup. It was Ray Luzier, it was Benny Graham, Annie Canals, Dave Lombardo, myself, God knows who. It was a big festival, the Swiss drum festival, and it was a couple of years ago. And I was just so busy at the time, touring and coming back and forth to Europe, UK, China, US, everywhere. I didn't have actually the time to contact Remo to send me the drum heads for the festival. And the Remo guy, the local distributor, actually checked out my website. He knew that I was coming. Of course, the festival was big time, promoted and advertised in Switzerland. And he checked out my website, checked out this drumhead sizes, and then he contacted the backline company who supported the Pearl gear, that what drum heads you need for that kit, what sizes. And then when I showed up from the airport, they took me straight to the venue, and the drum heads were there on the drums. And I went, oh my God, it wasn't even me. Oh, it's like I'm dreaming of what's happening. That was like, a, really like a
that's a lucky. You were lucky, but it's a cool opportunities for that guy too, for sure. It's professionalism, because you never know. You can go in countries, you never know. I've been doing shows. Sometimes I needed heads, and the only store selling drum heads, for example, are like selling cheese and burgers, and for example, and they have a corner and they have drum heads, and like, okay, that was gonna be that, for us. But you were very lucky. We don't have much time. Time go fly fast. I want you to tell us what are your plan, your coming plan. Because I know now we're restrained in our house. The lockdown make us stay in the house. But when that thing will pass, like in a few months, what are your next steps?
Yes, a couple of years ago, I started playing with an amazing American artist. He was is like a fantastic guitar player by the name of Stanley Jordan. He was he played with everybody, and he was nominated for Grammy 4 times, and he's a fantastic player. He's a electric jazz guitar player and a pianist and vocalist. Cool. And we're planning to record a new album with Stanley Jordan.
Okay.
So very much looking forward to that one. And I'm also booked to do the Australian Ultimate Drum event, which is something I'm very much looking forward. It's in Melbourne, Australia. That would be my first time in Australia. Now, of course, because of this southern virus, excuse my terminology, the festival's been postponed. It was going to be in August. It hasn't been cancelled. It's probably going to be either in September, October, something. So later in the year, it's been put back a little bit. But I have several invitations from Australia to do a clinic tour. And of course, the main event will be the Australian Ultimate Drum event. So I'm very much looking forward to that one.
Sure.
I perform my newest ideas, and I grew up watching the videos. This festival's always been televised. So I've seen Dave Wackel, Virgil Donati, Famularo, Billy Cobb, Dennis Chambers, you name it. So everybody has been there. And my dear friend Pete Lockett from England, he's been performing there several times. So he's made a recommendation for me, which I'm very thankful for. So we are, and also Don Camparo helped me as well. So we are, we were going to be on in August, and this festival is still happening. It's just going to be a little bit later in the year, but probably, it's going to take a couple of months for everybody to sort of shake up and wake up and just sort of adapt to the new situation and be ready to sort of restart our lives and travel and schedules and all that. So I'm looking forward to that one. And the new Stanley Jordan CD as well. And I have several clinics that been sort of put back a little bit. Later. UK clinics, European travel, and all that. So I'm just looking forward to get my life back, really.
Like everyone, and just before, because I don't want to forget, you're a teacher. You're teaching online. You're teaching in person. And I wanted to ask you how the people can reach you if they want to have lessons with you. Like, can you tell us whatever platform are you using right now?
Yes, I mean, I'm all over the internet. So I'm using Skype. I'm using Zoom. I'm using Teams, Google Teams. So pretty much people can reach me on whichever platform now. Whatever, StreamYard, whichever platform people.
And where they can contact you, like they can write you on Facebook or like
they can write me on Facebook. I have an artist page, Gabor Dornyei artist, drummer artist, and there's also an Instagram page. There's my website, Gabor Dornyei, which is GabordOrnyei, GaborDornyei.com. On my website, the contact menu comes straight into my mailbox, so they can write me there. They can write me on Facebook, Instagram, of every possible platform. I will receive it, and I'm hoping to get back to them within 24 hours. I think that's a professional time frame. And I had Skype students and online students from Brazil, Iceland, UK, US, all over Europe, Germany, Denmark,
all over.
Italy, everywhere. So I've been, I haven't just recently started since the virus. I've been teaching online for 8 years. I'm
Whoa.
the head of drums for the Detroit Institute of Music Education, which is time online. I've done that from 2014 to 2018. So really 2014, 6 years ago, over 6 years ago, when I started doing online lessons professionally. But even
Yeah.
before that, I already gave the one-off
But
status.
do you teach in private too, in person, in your own studio or two, or like right? But not now, but in general, yeah.
Yes, not at the moment, of course,
Yep.
because it's not safe. But I teach from home, from my home studio, and also I run a private drums school, which is called the Harrow Drum School.
Okay.
It's in northwest London. We're just above Wembley, you know, where the big stadium is, Wembley Stadium. The next stop on the Metropolitan line is Harrow, and I have a Harrow Drum School. I have a couple of guys teaching for me. But my best university student who teach there, about 30 to 50 kids. So we have a school for everybody. You know, I normally look after the more sort of advanced adult students, and my best university students teach the kids for me. So Northwest London is covered.
It's covered. That's it. You have it all. Well, thanks a lot for coming. The time fly. We need to let you go. But let's keep in touch. The people can follow you everywhere, like you said, YouTube, your channel. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
My pleasure.
And sorry was late. I tried to put it the most as we can, but next time I will try to make it like earlier for like the people from Europe in general.
No, we're good. It's 11:30, so I'm good. You know, I would be awake anyway. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks so much for watching, and all the best. And everybody stay safe and stay strong during this difficult time. Thank you.
See you later. Bye bye. Take care, everybody. Okay, thank you very much for Gabor Dornyei for the all these cues and information about like when you tour in Asia or you need backline. So anyway, you can contact him on his Facebook. Just a few reminders for the people, they just show up. If the internet doesn't work well, it's not my connection. It's the internet is overloaded right now. I called the supplier yesterday of that streaming, and it's the same everywhere. So sorry if there's glitches or like some missing information. Okay, so I have a few reminders, quick. If you didn't know, Drum Channel has like 30 days free membership, like not for the year. We have a 30 days accessibilities to go see classes and videos. I really suggest you to go. You will see like a lot of drummer there from many years. I've performed there a lot of time for the past 10 years, and it's always a great opportunity. So I suggest you that. Please support your local dealer for the drums. Like if you wanted like something and you have something in mind, I know it's a hard time, but some business won't make it happen. So if you have like we're planning to buy like a cymbal, for example, and you cannot go in person because it's closed. Most of them are still open, like but online. So you can always reserve or like make it shipped to your place. But it's very important to stay tight, whatever you are coming from, because now we have people coming from all over the world. Just help your economy. It will be very good. And yes, next week the other show will have like Raul Vargas, Scott Pilgrim, Lou Santiago Jr., and Todd Zuckerman. The show will be the same hour, same day. Tomorrow there's a show, but in French. The artists are Camille Bellil, Olivier Savoie-Campo, Stéphane Godreau. You can watch it tomorrow, but it's at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and that's it. So let's go with the next guest. I know her for, I don't know, maybe 20 years. She's the head of education and event manager worldwide for All Drum Workshop brand. She's taking care of the trade show, clinics, tour, drum festival, music event, masterclass, etc. Let's welcome my friend Gerald Thomas.
Hello, how
Hello, Juels.
Hi.
Pretty good. Yourself?
Very good. Nice to see you.
Thanks for the accepting the invitation. That's really kind of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was honored that you even asked me. So
Well, I'm very happy because I thought about you for many reasons, because you have been dealing with drummers, percussion player for all over the years, and you have been working in person in advance with for events, managing clinics and stuff. And the people, the drummer, they like, not the professional drummer, but the people, they like the drumming industry. They don't know how hard it is to get there. So and you have to plan and to manage, like not just one person, but sometimes like 20 at a time or 50 at the time. And that's why I thought about you.
Oh, thanks. Well, yeah, it's a weird time right now because unfortunately none of that is going on. I mean, live events are basically locked down. So we're trying to reinvent how we bring that to people. But yeah, it's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know, and they don't need to know. That's kind of the secret of it all.
Yeah, but it's the I can say that it's a hard way to manage it, but I'm sure you're gonna make it happen. And I'm sure everything will be back to normality in a few months, so that give you a few time for replanning and reschedule stuff for later.
Right.
So, well, first, I know you're a drummer, so I would like you told us why you chose that instrument. Why one day it's not the flute or the guitar, and you decided the drum is what I want to play.
Well, actually, my dad is a drummer, so it was kind of in my blood. He actually drove to the Ludwig factory to pick up his new drum set the week that my brother was born, like literally within days of him being born. He was off getting his new drums. So, and I would have been 3 years old at that time. So, sorry, my dog just walked in the room.
Oh, no worry. We have.
Of course.
He's very relaxed. No worry.
But yeah, so since I was 3 years old, as far as as long as I can remember, having drums in the house and knowing how to play drums it's just a completely normal thing to me. It was like as ordinary as having a kitchen table or something. I thought everyone had drums.
Oh, that's cool, because some people has a piano, for example.
Right.
More often you will have a piano in the house or a guitar like in the wall. People would start, but a drum is less common. But it's cool for you because you had that opportunities.
Yeah, to me it was normal.
Well, that's cool. And did you study in drums, or you only play by yourself, by your heart?
Well, I mean, obviously my dad taught me the basics and how to play listening to records. And he's completely self-taught, which is amazing to me. I don't know, like, how does anyone just figure that stuff out on your own? I don't know if I could do that. So I learned, reading and rudiments and stuff in middle school and high school bands. And then I went to Berkeley in Boston for more intense study. Plus, I'm lucky that part of my job is going to clinics and getting to see all of these when we were able to have clinics.
Yeah.
Getting to see all of these teachers live, and so I can keep learning in that way. But I think once you have the basic structure, playing with other musicians is the best education in the world. So I think for anybody, just a mix of whatever works for your style of learning and creating is the best way to learn.
Yeah. And do you still own a kit back in your house right now? Oh yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. We have a few drum sets. My husband and I are both drummers, so we have multiple drum sets.
That's cool. Well, this is because a lot of people, they don't have that opportunity right now during the lockdown to practice or only have fun on their drum.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing you can have that, because I know some of my students, they were asking me what I can do for performing, for playing. There's meshes, they're like low volume cymbals now, or there's electronic drums. There's a million of ways, but sometimes the problems, your stuff is in external studio. They're not in your own house. You cannot even go there reaching what you need. So it's a kind of odd moment, but I'm sure that will pass over. But you're lucky to have those kits back in your house.
Yeah, I think so too.
So this is very good. And do you still have a band right now?
Oh no, I haven't been in a band for so many years. I mean, with my job, it would be really unfair to be in a band with how much I travel, because I'd always have to be finding subs and yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't think I've been in a house, like a steady house, except for now because I'm locked down. But usually I don't stay more than 2-3 weeks in the same place. So I know what you're talking
It's
about.
very weird to be home for this amount of time.
Yeah, well, a good sub is good point. When you can have and for the people they're watching right now, when you can have 2-3 good subs, whatever is the situation, is always a good option, because if you need to do another gig or you're sick or whatever, they can back you up. But well, I wish maybe you can do a band in the future if you feel for.
Never say never.
Never say never. Well, I have a lot of questions to talk with you, and the time flies so fast. So I have one question I wanted to ask you. You're helping with the education, with DW, Gretsch, all the drum workshop brands. Do you think, in general, like governments do enough for supporting kids to study in music in general?
Yeah, this is a great topic. Well, firstly, just to clarify, the education part of my title refers specifically to the clinic aspects of all of our brands. And DW started as a drum lesson studio. That's why it's called Drum Workshop. So music education is very important to us. It's basically the foundation of our company. And all the clinics that we book and sponsor are educational events. So one of the most gratifying things about my job is being able to bring these clinics to people who maybe not, all over the world, you don't have the same opportunities, especially in schools. Now, at least in the United States, the government started eliminating a lot of those music programs a few years back, saying that music and arts weren't necessary skills that people needed to graduate. But, we know there's science and there are studies that prove that learning music actually literally changes the structure of your brain.
For sure.
And, how it enhances your memory. It's like learning a language, because it literally is a language. And it's math, and it's reading, and it's listening, and teamwork, and all of these things. So, and sometimes when a kid doesn't connect to anything else in school, sometimes music is the one thing that gets them engaged enough to not drop out. So I think it's hugely important. And luckily, there has been recent legislation in the United States that is helping bring music programs back into the schools. In fact, NAM, the National Association of Music Merchants, has been a major factor in lobbying for that here. Every year, they take a group of NAM members to Washington, D.C. to meet with their congresspeople and discuss music education.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and they successfully got the language written into the Every Student Act under Title 4A to specifically read that music and arts are essential parts of a well-rounded education. So, and last year I got to go on that trip with NAM to.
I saw that. I saw a picture of that.
Yeah, and it was eye-opening. But it's really something I'm passionate about, and I got to advocate for getting the funding up to the proper level for this, and to make sure that we don't backtrack on any of the progress that's already been made. So yeah, it's really important. Not only is it crucial for governments to be financially supporting music education, I think they need to be actively promoting the benefits of it, so that people can seek it out in other ways too.
Accessibilities.
Yeah.
So it depends to the city where you are from. For example, you would have way more accessibilities, like in Los Angeles area, for example, and if you're in the center of Missouri in one city. So it's just an example, because it's the same in all the countries. So sometimes the little cities have less accessibilities for those kids that are very good in music, and like you said, they will cut those programs, and it's so bad to do, because usually music and sport are the things they should keep, like you said, for keep your head to keep those people at school, and they won't drop out, so it's a good thing. Well, it's actually very clear what you said, and I hope the people will still fighting for studying, even if sometimes it's expensive, but it's a good investment, I think, to study music. I mean, on my side, maybe not, but you can be self-taught. But I mean, sometimes some people are like, should I do? But I think it's a good path, and there's so many great schools now. So,
I mean, music makes you just a better person, and so hopefully someday some of those people studying music now will grow up to be in charge of government. So
It's true.
It'll go full circle.
It's true. And for something very good with workshop, you always have been very supportive with your artists to bring those education, that passion, the music all over the world. You know, I just finished like 6 clinics in Mexico City, and it's super fun because there is not like a little group that had like maybe sometime 20, but sometime 100 person, and they really crave music, and it's fun because YouTube is something, internet is something, but when you have someone in front of you telling you something and you can see how he play and all, it's another level. It's not explainable. You know what I mean? So
yes, absolutely. And I think, you know, once we get through all of the quarantine, we're going to be craving it even more. We're going to need human connection. We're going to need interaction. You know, people are going to be pretty sick of staring at their screens for a long amount of time. But, you know, you need both. You really need both influences. It's
a balance. It's a good balance. Well, let's keep going. There's so many questions, sorry, because I know the time flies so fast. And okay, which advices you can give for the new blood trying to make it right in 2020? So for example, you're like a drummer. You're 18 years old. You want to be like those drummer. They're like they want to go there. Where do you have advisors for they can go step by step? Because just for finish my question, some people say I want to have that endorsement and I will be there and I will be successful, but sometimes it's not true. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
What are the advisors you think the people should do step by step, but in general?
Well, specifically in the endorsement section, you know, you need to have, it's a two-way street. Endorsement means that you endorse the product. So you first of all have to love it, and you have to bring something to the table for the company to be able to give you something in return.
Sure.
But I think making it in 2020 means something totally different than it did even 10 years ago. I don't think it's enough just to play drums. I think you kind of have to have multiple skills. Like for me, my original goal was to be a studio drummer. And yeah, but they're not the gigs like there were, especially not in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They're not like that anymore. You kind of have to have you have to run your own studio at home now. You have to know how to record yourself. You basically have to be, on top of being a drummer, you have to be an engineer to follow that career path now. Plus, there are so many other ways to get seen and heard now that there weren't before. A record deal isn't as valuable as it once was. I think
it's different.
You know, having your own YouTube channel or your drum lesson website is a major avenue of distribution. But you need some video skills and some editing skills to pull that off properly too. You're in control of more aspects of your career now than ever. Now more than ever, I think it's basically like you're running your own corporation. So
you're a business. You are your own boss in some way.
Yeah. So, you know, obviously on top of being a great musician, you have to be a personality and you have to be really amazing at social media and promoting yourself. So, I would say obviously learn your lesson, learn your instrument, be a really good person, but also have some additional related skills that put you over the top. And then also take some courses in business management and marketing and maybe even finance, because that gives you the whole picture.
Oh yeah, it's a good thing because like you said before, you could only be the drummer for one artist and touring all your life in the 70s and 60s, and you will make it. But now you need to be teacher, technician, like accountant. You know, there's like many things like surrounding that music business you want to create, you know.
For sure.
And it's one good point you said about endorsement. People need to like the instrument because it's not a one-way deal. It's like it goes both sides, and it's a good example. I played DW since 95 or 94, and I kept with the company because I like the product and I like you guys, and it's different things. But this is people need to be careful. Some people think I will be endorsed and I will be someone. It doesn't It doesn't go like that. You need to really, it's a partnership. You need to like what it is. Not because you will switch to one company to the other, you will have a better name or better whatever. If you change because of something, you know, you want to.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how that all started, where it seems like they think that if you get an endorsement, that means you will get a career.
Yeah, but
because I mean, I can basically explain it like this: if you know, like Sting is not looking through Modern Drummer magazine and looking for an ad and being like, "That's my guy. I'm going to hire that guy," because they have an endorsement. Yeah. You're getting a job for another reason, not because you have an endorsement. So.
Yeah. No, because we're talking about young blood, young guys or young girls. They want to make it, and sometimes I realize some people, their goal is to have an endorsement. But you need to think about, you need to be a musician first. You are a musician, and you need to build that, and all will come. And you need to know your priorities and what you want, why you need that, and that will for sure make your path easier to go where you want to go. But you need to think, is not just because you will have an endorsement, you will be someone. It's nothing like that. It works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, an endorsement is more like a tool to help you do your job.
Exactly.
To support that.
And before we go, because the time fly, what are your next project? Now I know there's stuff you cannot say, but I mean, what are like? Do you have some upcoming clinics or stuff you want to talk will happen in October or November, or you don't know? Just like a scoop or.
That's a tough question right now, because next week I should be going to New Orleans for the New Orleans Jazz Festival. We had just gotten a sponsorship for that. That's obviously going to be postponed. We had some clinic tours that we wanted to do this year. We wanted to promote the 20th anniversary of PDP. So we're going to find other ways to do that digitally and some other ways. Eventually, whenever we're able to be in front of people live, we're going to do all of that again. We're just postponing it and making sure we can do it right.
Well, Joel, thank you so much for the you accepted the invitation. You were like very welcome in this channel.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
So if the people want to follow on the clinics or whatever you will organize on Gretsch DW, they can go on the website of DW and Gretsch, and there's a section, right, with all the coming events, right?
We're working on updating those sections, but the best place to check out our events is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We have them all pretty much promoted there.
Oh, cool. Because I know those brands are very like on Instagram and on Facebook and Twitter, so that's perfect. So the people can follow you guys there. That's perfect. Well, thank you so much. I need to let you go. So see you soon and stay safe.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Cool. Thank you very much for Gerald Thomas for the cues about business and music. If the internet is bad, sometime it's possible. It's like that. There's a overload of people, so sorry about that. Let's go directly to the third guest. Her name is Moni Del Valle. She's graduated from the University of Las Americas, de Puebla in Mexico. She played with Christian Castro, Janet Chao, and many more. She played with many Broadway type of show, like Peter Pan, Mary Poppins, Rent, Billy Elliot, Hello Dolly, The Lion King, and recently Chicago. She's endorsed by Yamaha, Paiste, Remo, Dorado Pad, Montano Drumstick. Welcome, Moni.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you? I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you here. So how you feel? How you doing?
I'm good. Missing all the live shows, but we're doing pretty good so far. Yeah.
So I know you were in Chicago, but Chicago was supposed to stop right now, or they stopped because of the quarantine?
No, it stopped because of the quarantine. It was supposed to go until, I think, August. Yeah. So we got cut off pretty early. But, you know,
like a few months in advance. Sorry about that. I think all the community of drummer musician have been affected like that.
Yeah, totally. But you know, we're trying to stay as positive as possible.
Yeah, for sure. And can you play drums at home, or do you have a practice pad or something?
No. Well, I mean, I do have pads all over my house, but you know, here in Mexico City, it's pretty hard to have your own drums especially if you live in an apartment building. So my drums are at a studio, which is of course locked down for the moment. But yeah, we're getting through.
Well, I'm sure it's gonna be okay soon. So
yeah,
that thing will go away, and that's it. Well, so at least you have pads, so you can play. It's
do.
like you have a drum here. I cannot play too loud. I can be like jazz approaches, but I have a setup in my like in a one room here, so I can practice with pads. It's the only way I can do it here.
Perfect. Yeah, I know.
So I have a lot of questions to ask you because I wanted you today on the show because you had a lot of experiences on Broadway shows, and I would like you to talk about that to the listener, the people following you in the channel right now. So, but first, I want to know about you. Like, I want tell us about how you started to play drum and how you became a drummer, a professional drummer.
Well, basically, I don't know. I think it must have been because, I would watch MTV, VH1, and I would look at the drummer, and I just thought, that guy's having a lot of fun banging on stuff. So I think that was the first appeal. And it's kind of a funny story because I asked my parents for lessons, and so of course they took me to a Yamaha school, right?
Yeah, it's popular.
And back then it was really. Well, I mean, it wasn't common to, for girls to be playing drums, at least in Mexico. So I would go to get my lessons, and they would separate me from the boys. The boys would go into a room filled with drums, and I would go over to a room with practice pads. So that was kind of a bummer. And which is kind of funny because like 20-something years later now, I am endorsed by Yamaha. So
it's cool. That's good. Congratulations. This is very good.
Yeah. So it turned out pretty good, I guess.
Yamaha schools are great. They are everywhere in the world. Very good standard of qualities. Whatever you will go. If you have the paper from those schools, it's you reach that standard.
Right.
And this is
cool. Yeah, for sure.
And how long did you study there?
It was. I wasn't there for long. It must have been like 2 months, and I was like, "Dude, I want to play in the drum set." No, you can't play in the drum set. So it was like, okay, fine. And then I just kept at it like on my own, really, for a really long period of time.
Well, there's no bad way. I always say this. There's only good ways. The way you will work, you will make it happen. You can be a self-taught drummer, but go catch stuff on YouTube and playing. You can, so you make it well actually. And where did you learn to read first before the university? You start reading by yourself, or someone teach you that?
Well, before I went to university, I took piano lessons for a pretty long time. So I think that obviously helped. And then, of course, going through university, it wasn't really drum set. It was classic percussion.
Oh, okay.
So in terms of reading, that was a huge thing for me.
For sure.
Which obviously has helped me with the whole musical theater thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of pages. You need to wait like 255 bars before you get one triangle stuff.
Exactly. yeah.
But it's cool actually because it's a good way to learn. I guess I did that too. I did when I was a kid. I did conservatory music, and very, very young, and that made me learning music like at 3, 4, 5 years old. So it's there's no bad ways. But let's go into the topic of today about the Broadway show. That's why I wanted we talk about that. You did a lot of Broadway shows. There's a lot of reading in the Broadway shows, like charts and stuff.
Yeah.
Can you tell us which one was the hardest, for example, and why, and how you make those shows happen from the point A to the point B, for example?
I think, they've all been really difficult. They all have their very specific things, but I think for me, so far, Chicago was definitely the hardest because there's so much going on and the band is on stage. Pretty much any Broadway show, you never see the musicians because we're down on a pit or somewhere else, right? But in this case, we're all on stage, so you you're there the whole show. You can't go to the bathroom. You can't eat. You can't check your cell phone. You can't do anything. You have to be really focused. And the drummer has a lot of responsibility on that show.
Sure.
So you have to be catching cues, whatever's going on with the choreography. So it's really difficult. You have a lot of toys that you have to make sure that
it's not like a drum. It's not just drums. Like it's a good thing you mentioned. Can be like special effect, whatever.
Right. Yeah. So and the funny thing is that I found out that it's, for example, the show that you see in Mexico, it's not the same as, for example, the one in Germany or the one in South Africa or the one in Australia. It kind of changes.
Okay.
So you're pretty much building the show from zero. So which is really, really cool.
This is always the nicest when you be part of a creation.
Right.
Until the show and you run that show.
Right.
I did creation a lot of time and I did replacement, and I always like 10 times better the creation and the show than just arriving and you need to just play what it's cool too, but it's not the same vibe.
Exactly. So and that's pretty much, I mean, every day you're changing something. It's like the day before you had to play I don't know, something, and then the next day, no, you know what, we're going to change this. So it's evolving every day. So.
And do you go paper chart, or are you with like iPad and like a 4-score, or like what how you work with that?
It's paper. We pretty much use paper all the time. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if they do have iPads in Broadway, but here it's basically paper. It's easier.
Well, I think it depends of the gig, I guess, because if it's a long gig, the same show, you will do the creation. I know I was going paper when I do like a one-time show as a session drummer. Right. I have an iPad and it's very fast because you just flip and that's it. But when you work, you need to. You said that you have an important role in the creation and in the show. You might be very connected with the musical director and the artistic director too. So do you have any meetings before and they will tell you things because you're in the creation, or is only the musical director will give you the cues, for example?
I basically, for example, in this case, the drummer and the rehearsals are always done by a piano player. Okay. But in this case, because of all the choreography on the show, they needed the drummer before. So I spent like a month with just the musical director and the choreographer as well. And that's how we would communicate. I need you to do this. I need you to accent this. I need you to play something here. And that's how it.
But this is the best, because when the show starts, you don't need to. You're not surprised. You know what's going next.
Exactly. Yeah. And it becomes sort of automatic, but you still have to be pretty focused though.
And well, I always say that I think to play a show is something, but to keep the focus is another thing.
Yeah.
And
totally different skill.
Because if you do a show once a month with your band, it's another thing. But when you do a show like you do, or like I was doing, like 7 to 10 times a week, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, make the math is around 250 to 350 shows per year. Is almost the same number of days in the calendar. So you need to stay focused. Actually, going to that thing, do you have any advices for drummers? They would like to become like a Broadway kind of style show drummer, but where they can start. Do you have any cues like be careful of that, do this, do that, and that will help you to go there?
Well, first of all, definitely the reading part is really important. I mean, if you can't read music at all, it's going to be really hard for you to put on a show like that. I mean, it's basically it's a 2 hour and 30 minutes show, so you can't really rely on your memory at the beginning.
No, not the beginning. At the end, yes, but
at the end, you pretty much know the whole thing. But and for every show, you have to audition. I don't know how they do it in Broadway, but here, every time a show ends, the next one comes on, and you have to audition. So
I think it depends of the production or the city or the country. But it's good you say that. So actually, how you can prepare yourself to do an audition?
Exactly. You really have to be not the best reader, but pretty good.
Okay.
And you sort of had to kind of be, you have to know a little bit about every style. You don't have to be an expert on everything, but for example, what you play in Weekend, it's not going to be the same as Chicago, for example. It's a different feel, it's a different thing. So, and of course, I think for any audition, you should definitely over-prepare. A lot of people take it really lightly, and you're going to get nervous. You're going to get nervous because you have people from New York coming and judging your playing. They don't know you.
I don't know you.
So of course you're going to be nervous. So if you're over prepared, then at least you'll be a little better, I guess.
And you need to be humble, because it's not because you got refused in one audition is you're not good musician. No, because some people got destroyed. I've met musicians, they've been so bad for a month, and I was like, what happens? Like, I did an audition for that company, didn't work, and I did another time, didn't work. So I think I will do something. I don't know what to do. Like, you never know. Can be one casting. Sometimes they will say, we need that person with that thing, and they will pick that person, even if there's a better musician or someone else coming, like with I don't know, like red hair, and they wanted the white hair guys. I don't know, but you know what I mean? Is sometimes the artistic director can be very like, so never take personal when you do an audition. Exactly.
Totally. Yeah.
And are you the kind of person you have, because where I was talking with Gabor like about different drum sets, are you very flexible, or whatever show you do, you will always have the same drum set for feel comfortable, and you have your table of accessories, or you will depend of the prod, like add 1-2 tom more, like how you manage your own setup in general?
It depends on the production. For example, for The Lion King, they were really specific about, we need a Pearl reference, so many toms. Silgian cymbals, very specific models, and for this one, they were really. They also did like, you need these heads. You need these, So I have to, I mean, I have to be open to, to play whatever it is in front of me. Like, I mean, that's, but I guess that's just in any kind of musical.
All those shows like that, it's like that. Like, I mean, that's it. They have their sound. They want something specific, and you go with what they want.
Exactly.
I know for my side, for example, that sometimes like I had, it was a partnership between me, the artistic director, and the technician, the sound engineer, the head sound. So sometimes we're like, okay, we want that kind of sound. I was bringing 3, 4, 5 different snares, and they were picking one, and we bought that one for the production, for example. And drum heads is the same. We put a lot of drum heads. We try out them all, and they say, "Oh no, we want that sound," and we build a sound of for me, for the artistic department, and for the sound engineer.
Right.
So that's good. The time fly. We have like really not much time. I have another question for you. Now, can you describe like a typical day when you do a Broadway show? Like from the moment you wake up the morning, you take your cup of coffee, how did it start until you go to at the end of the show?
Well, I think, for example, if it's the weekend, you have 2 shows per day. So you basically wake up. Well, I mean, you should sleep as much as you can, because it's a lot of, it takes a lot of energy to play those kinds of shows. So I would basically wake up sort of early, have a good breakfast, exercise a bit, then get pretty much ready to go to the theater, because you have to warm up, you have to get the set ready with all the percussions, the different drumsticks, mallets, whatever. In this case, I would need a microphone. There were some whistles that I had to play, and we would have a wardrobe, so you have to get ready for that, and then you would have to be ready pretty much 20 minutes before the show. Show call. Not go anywhere 20 minutes before. So, and then you run through the whole show. Then you have maybe like a 40-minute break, and then you do it all over again.
Okay, and how long is your show call? You said that do you have a 2-hour, 3-hour, or is only 20 minutes before the show? Like, what is your real show call that the company asks for?
It's an hour.
It's an hour. Perfect. Okay.
but ready when I mean, we have to be 20 minutes before the show starts. We have to be on stage.
Okay.
Ready to go. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting because it all depends of the production. Some shows is like 3 hour shoot call in
exactly.
in advance. It depends. You don't need to make up.
No, not really.
Costume?
No,
You have a costume or
yeah.
outfit? Yeah.
Yeah, we did in Chicago. Yeah, we did, but it was all like black stuff. But they gave us all of the clothes. So yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes some people have to make up an exact specific thing they are asking for. Okay, that's pretty cool. And well, what are your? I know now it's different. The story changed all, but what are your projects for the? Let's say after the crisis in 2 months. What you're thinking? Are you teaching? Do you have like bands coming? What are your plans?
I do teach. Hopefully, when this is over, we'll restart the whole thing in the studio. It's called We Rock here in Mexico City, and we're going to be doing some things with Yamaha and with Paiste later this year. So I'm looking forward to that, and just waiting for the next show to come.
They will come. It's just the time. The time. Will I don't. Nobody knows. But well.
Right.
But you did so many. I'm sure you will get another thing. And last thing, how the people can reach you like right now if they have questions or they your Facebook, Instagram. What is the best platform for they can talk with you?
And both of those, I'm in Facebook and Instagram. It's at Moni Del Valle 11. So that's it.
And well, thank you so much for accepting the invitation. I'm very glad you were. On the show. It's not too long, at 20-25 minutes passed fast, but I'm super happy you were there. And if people want queue also, because they can contact you because making an audition, it's something, but can you train people to help them to make audition?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
Perfect. So I will, so they can contact you anytime. But well,
of course.
Thank you so much for passing by, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, thank you so much for Moni for all the information. Sorry if the internet has some bugs, sometimes some glitch. It's possible. Maybe now there's glitch. I don't know. Is the connection? There's too many people on the network. So we'll go directly to the next guest, and at the end, I will talk about little details for the coming weeks. So, well, that guy, he studied in the University of Miami. He played with many artists. I cannot name them all because it's so long, but he played with Julio Iglesias, Shakira, Lauryn Hill, Gloria Estefan, DMX, Damien Rice, Wyclef Jean, Melissa Etheridge, many more. He played at PASIC last year. He was on the last tour of Shakira. He's endorsed DW, LP, Sabian, Roland, Vic Firth, Big Fat Snare Drum, Remo. So let's say hi to our friend Brendan Buckley. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect, like a pro.
All right.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm here in LA. Everything is shut down. So it's just, everyone's just trying to be productive from home, I guess.
Yeah, well, you have a cool toy store in the back of you, like we can see that.
my playroom. Yeah. I've had this studio since 2006. It's it's a place to record, rehearse, practice, all sorts of things.
Well, that's cool. You have that accessibilities and that in your place, so that's pretty good because some people doesn't have that right now in that lockdown.
I know. I feel sorry for them, because as drummers, we get kind of fidgety if we can't play for too much,
Oh,
I was always a person that was always tapping all the time. So
and you're bugging your neighbor and all. But you have a house. You're not in a condominium. That's the thing, right?
This is I have a house, and this is actually a separate unit on the same property. So this is, imagine like
townhouse,
guest house in the backyard. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So well. Thank you for accepting the invitation. I'm super happy for having you on the show. And first, talk about you, man. Tell the people want to know how you became a drummer and why you choose the drumming instead to play guitar or whatever, like other instruments.
Sure. Everyone has their own origin story. And I guess basically as a kid, I grew up in New Jersey, right outside of New York City. And I took piano lessons as a little kid, just because I had to. I don't know if I liked it or anything. And then in 4th grade, I studied trumpet. Because again, in school, you had to pick an instrument because they used to have music programs in school. I don't think they do anymore. But I played trumpet, and I played trumpet for a few years. That was fun. And then I started watching a whole lot of MTV music videos and lots of rock bands. And I was like, I want to be in a band. I want to be in a band. And I didn't see any piano or trumpets in any of the bands on these videos. So I figured I had to pick another instrument. So I bought a drum set off of a neighbor. He was getting a fancier one, so he sold me his old Pearl Export, and I started playing drums in the back of the place where I was playing trumpet. They also had a drum set, so I played drums for a song or two, and maybe in the jazz band or something. And then I basically, so that was about the age of 13 or 14, and then I kind of never quit. I would practice every day after school. I started taking formal drum lessons at the age of 15. The age of 18, I went to a music conservatory down in Miami, Florida. And yeah, it's like one step after another.
So that's pretty good. That show, like you're a good mix we're talking about with Juels. Like you're a musician, but you have also that business kind of thing. You have like, you can manage your career well for bring you where you want to go. So your dream was to be a drummer, professional in a band, and you make it. So that's
yeah, I mean, it was like, I guess it was more, rather than a dream, it was just a passion. It was something I enjoyed doing. I never thought of it as a career, at least not when I was younger. I just enjoyed it the same way I enjoyed skateboarding or playing football or something. I enjoyed these things. So I would just do them all the time. And then about the age of 17 or 18, you have to start thinking like an adult and saying, what am I going to do? And a lot of people go to college when they're 18. And I said, well, if I'm going to go to college, maybe I can go to college and study something I enjoy.
For sure.
One thing I enjoy is music. And that freaked my parents out because they're like, how do you go to college and play the drums? And I said, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. So I went and I found music schools. I auditioned to them and I got in. And they said, and they're fairly strict, but I think they saw how much I liked it. So they said, we'll give you a year to pursue this quote unquote passion. And then after a year, when you find out this is stupid, you can then become a lawyer. Yeah. And I just went and I never stopped. I think it took them a couple of years to understand like that, oh, this is actually, he enjoys this and he's actually going to pursue this. So
that's pretty good. And to go with what just you said, how you started to make all those contacts when you finished that school, because some kid that doesn't have idea, they're like in a field that they don't know where to start. What was your first main big contact bring you in the industry? Or
yeah, that's probably the single most popular question I get at drum clinics is someone who says, I am a drummer, I'm 21. How do I go from amateur to professional? Because it seems like people think there's a wall and you just hop over this wall. And then, but I feel like it's just like a slow crawl. And I think for me, when I was going to music school, so I was maybe 18, 19, 20 years old at the time, I was already studying in the daytime and playing gigs at night.
Oh, okay.
It might have been small gigs, a little jazz band in the corner of a restaurant or in a hotel lobby, or maybe a cover band, or maybe a rock band in a dingy club at 3 a.m. But every night I was playing some kind of local gig for $50 or $100 or whatever it was. I don't know. And I think that just gave me a lot of experience.
For sure.
So then by the time I was 21 or 22, I already knew a lot of musicians. I played in a lot of bands. I already recorded several albums. I did a few tours. So then when I finished school, I already had that network of people with whom I was already working. And that's something I often try to encourage other people to do, is not just think of it as I'm an amateur and now I'm going pro, is just kind of divide that line and just play, meet other musicians, jam with other musicians, hang out with other musicians, do a gig, do a rehearsal, do a jam, do an audition, just blur all the lines and then just make this slow transition from one to the other. And at least, well, I don't know if everyone has that attitude, but that's how I did it. And it worked for me.
Right. It sounds good because, for example, I know I have a lot of students. They did, for example, their bachelor degree in drums, and they finish, and they're like, okay, now I'm a pro. I have a bachelor degree. Be careful. It's not because you have the paper. It means you will have a gig right now. You need, like you said, you were studying, and at the end, at the night, whatever, you were playing. So I think you're right, because I mean, it will feel the wall is less hard. Because there's no wall, it will be blending together. Because if you see a wall, it's too hard for you. You won't. Sometimes some people will say, "Ah, well, I won't make it, so I will stop and I will go to do something else." But if you're blurry and to be a musician, you need to chat with people. You need to be very open-minded to try different style, like you do. Actually, you're a very good session. You play with millions of different kind of style. I think that's a good approach for somebody wants to make it too, because you won't be just in a niche of metal or like a jazz, or you can blend it out. So that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah, there's two things you said there that I can comment on. One is you talk about your students that get a bachelor's degree and then want to become a pro. And I feel like, I don't want to knock music school, but I almost feel like getting a degree means almost nothing to me getting jobs. I felt like I went to school and I learned how to read, and I can learn songs very quickly. I can play multiple styles. I can do all that. But then when I would go to do a gig, it was more about having actual hours on the drum set and experience that mattered. Like, how good was my groove? How steady could I play? How many styles did I really learn convincingly? If I played in a blues band, did I sound like an old blues guy, or did I sound like a kid coming from school? If I played in a rock band, did I sound like an 18-year-old college kid, or did I sound like a real rock drummer? And all these things. And that only came with time. And I went out to so many clubs, and I would hang out with other drummers, and I would absorb things. I'm like, wow, that guy, he's 10 years older than me. He has half the technique, but he sounds twice as good as me. Why? Mm-hmm. This guy, he holds the sticks like a gorilla, but he sounds amazing. What's going on? And I would really absorb, and his eighth notes are amazing, or he has such a solid bass drum, or whatever. I would grab little bits from everywhere, and I would do lots of gigs. And anytime any artist had a suggestion, I would not scoff at them. I would really absorb it. If a singer said, I don't like that bass drum pattern, I wouldn't be like, Dennis Chambers plays that bass drum pattern, so what's the big deal? I would say, oh, interesting. He doesn't like that type of triplet thing. I won't do that anymore. And I would, every artist is different. So you start to learn what they like. I work with a guy who didn't like ride cymbals. So I'm like, all right, no ride cymbals on his gig. So I just played close hi-hat and open hi-hat, and ride cymbal bothered him. And I'm like, cool, you got it. And then I don't remember what the second thing was. So continue.
No worry. Well, but you were talking about a lot of things. And one question people doesn't have idea is about touring. You did a lot of tour. What for you are the most challenging things when you tour? No matter, can be different answers. Can be with a big tour like Shakira, or a smaller tour with another artist local you are playing with. But for you, what are the biggest challenges in general?
Yeah, well, I love touring. Actually, I'm one of those people who likes traveling. I love the adventure of it. I love exploring new cities, and it's really fun for me. So I try not to make it seem like touring is a drag. For me, touring is mostly fun. But there are challenges, and if I were to pick out a few, I would say, one, it makes scheduling really hard. Scheduling is hard for me because I don't work with one band, for 2 years straight. I work with like 12 artists throughout the year. So everything starts to overlap a little bit, and that becomes hectic. So if someone calls me up and says, can you do this from September to October? I'm like, sure. Then someone else says, can you do this thing November to December? I'm like, great. Yeah, we start at the end of October. I'm like, what, you said November. So so now I have to figure out, can I do the end or the beginning of this? And everything always seems to overlap, and it becomes really kind of hectic. But it works out in the end. I mean, it helps to have a few guys who you can rely on as substitutes if you really need them in a pinch. The other challenge I would say is that I don't really get to live a normal life like a lot of my friends do. I miss a lot of holidays. I miss a lot of birthday parties and weddings and all these things because my schedule is not a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday type of job. So it makes planning things outside of music extremely difficult. Family things and friend things, and I feel like I miss out on a lot of these other parts of my life, but it's a trade-off. I do have a fun life being a musician, but then you miss out on some other things.
It's a balance. You have to deal with something you like and you make it. I know I've been touring for 16 years. So all what you said, I'm out of all that. Christmas, people party, I play, so it's like wedding. I don't know when I've been to a wedding last time. So because I was playing in weddings.
Yeah, exactly.
In the wedding of my friends. Actually, I played in weddings of my friends a few times, but anyway, time flies super fast.
I talk too much.
I know, I like it. It's perfect. It's awesome. And well, you're talking about gear. I don't know. Some drummers are gear freak, some are not. Are you gear freak? And when you just said something about Damien Rice, he didn't like rides cymbal, but are you the kind of person you will go exactly with what the artists do? And are you a gear freak in your life? I mean, you will go with I want that, and I have 25 snare, whatever. Are you a gear freak in general?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I know a lot about drums. As far as I know a lot about how they're made and the different eras and what makes certain ones sound better, what makes certain ones not so. But I'm not crazy like down that whole direction. I feel like I'm more into the idea of whatever works.
Yeah.
So if I go to a rehearsal studio and they have a drum set there already and it's all beat up and I'm like, oh, this thing sounds great, I'll just use this. If I have to go across the country and play a couple shows in Asia and they say, we don't want to fly your gear, we'll have to rent you some drums. I'm like, cool, whatever, it's fine. They're like, well, tell us what you want. I'm like, okay, this is what I want. I'll type it out. But if you don't get that, anything's fine. Anything will work. So it's like, what is that expression? It's the archer, not the arrow. Like it's more about you and being able to express yourself on whatever surfaces are put in front of you. If someone puts a floor tom and a cajon and a garbage can in front of you, maybe you can play a beat on that too. So I feel like I've played on so many rental kits and borrowed kits and house kits that I don't really get super specific now about anything. I kind of care. The two things I care about the most are seat height and a rug on the floor so my hi-hat doesn't slide off the stage. Other than that, I can play almost anything. But if you give me the chance to get super picky and anal, I will. So just don't give me that chance. Keep me from going down that route, and I'll be all right.
I think was I don't remember, like one session drummer. I was working in a store a long time ago, like when I was a kid, and he did a clinic in Montreal, and he has like his exact measuration of all from the floor. So for example, like the hi-hat need to be at that high, measure the drum seat at that high, the tom. So when he was playing, so that was one of the hardest rider I've seen in my life. Like all was calculated at this millimeter, like exact millimeter.
I'm going to make a confession. I have that list also.
Yeah, but depending on what show you will do. If you do a tour with Shakira, all is like it's set up. When I do with Cirque or with Cavalia, all is like the same every show,
Yeah, exactly. But I do have, I do, like I said, I can get that specific. I just try not to. But I do have the list of my preferred heights of every drum and not that simple. But I don't care really. That's just a preferred list.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
If I go over someone else's studio and I sit down on his drum set, I'm not going to spend 10 minutes moving his snare drum around and like moving his. I'll just sit down and play. I'm not going to sit there and say I can't be my 100% if I don't have the snare drum at the perfect angle. Just play.
And you were saying like about I saw your picture with the last tour you were doing with Shakira with electronic drums in it. You choose to have those pads at that, like, or and the sound effects, or you're just controlling remotely the sound from a computer from your musical director. How it works exactly, or they're really like direct sounds?
So that kit in particular is just built for her tour only, and like every kit I use for every tour I've ever done, every artist starts from a 4-piece kit. I always start kick, snare, hi-hat, rack tom, floor tom, ride cymbal, and 2 crashes. That's my setup.
Okay.
Anything else is an addition onto that setup. 2 rack toms, 2 floor toms, an extra snare on the left side, an SPDSX pad, a China cymbal, or whatever. And then when you start seeing little mesh V-drum rolling pads, that's I put those around because I start to have to do other sounds also. And those are triggers of actual samples coming out of my laptop.
Okay.
So I have my own sounds for each song. So as I scroll through a set list, I scroll through the set list of my own sounds, and I have my own electronic kicks and snares and booms and whatever sound effects for every song. And they're all strategically placed around the kit so I can hit them when I need them.
Okay. And do you use Ableton Live or?
For the last tour, I was using Native Instruments Battery 4.
Yeah.
I like that one because I feel like the delay latency is really good. It's a standalone program. You don't have to open it up in any other DAW. And yeah, it's a drag and drop program. A friend of mine turned me on to years ago. I have used Ableton, the drum rack that they have too. That's very cool if you need to do automation.
Yeah.
If you need to sync yourself up to another computer and have things, turn on and off and all this stuff, that's probably the go-to.
Well, it's a good answer. Last question, because it goes so fast. But what kind of advices can you give? Like 2, 3, 4, 5 advices for kids they would like to? Because we talk about that. You said like it's not a wall, but is there things kids like drummer like they would like to you should learn for become a session drummer, for example? How you see that? Like they should start learning music, or what are your cues about like people want to be a session drummer like you?
Yeah, let's see. So, I mean, the best pieces of advice I can give you are the ones that other people have already told you, but practice, and not just practice like 13 hours a day once a week, but practice regularly. Meaning if you can only practice for 40 minutes a day, do 40 minutes every day. Because I think the conditioning of your body, getting sticks in your hands and sitting down every day will help you more than doing, 4 hours straight, on a Friday or something. So if you can get into some kind of routine of where you can do drums every day, you're going to see quicker results, I think. Very focused, deliberate practice where you're actually attacking goals. Like you have goals, like what are my goals this week? I want to get better at whatever, improving my kick drum pedal technique. I'm going to work on that all week, different exercises. Or, if you sit down with a goal, that gives you something to work on. That's important. I would say listen to music, like you were saying before, to familiarize yourself with not only your favorite kinds of music and your favorite, if you're into pop or metal or R&B, but all styles of music. Listen to the great drummers of every style of music. And therefore, you're learning vocabulary, you're learning drum tunings, you're learning different pockets and feels and fills and everything. So really just become like a sponge for every style of music out there. That helps. See live music. It's one thing to be clinical about it when you're at home in your practice studio and think theoretically, I need to work on this, or I need to study this. But really, when you go out and see other drummers, you're seeing it in real time. What is working? What is not working? What do I love about this guy? What could I do and what can I not do yet? And you're seeing all this. And I think that's something that might be getting lost. I don't know, maybe people replace it with YouTube. But when I was a kid, I just went out to see music like every Friday and Saturday, some band in New York City or some gig. And, I don't know, saw Vinnie Colaiuta a million times. I was like, just absorbing what is happening and and then you take it home and you work on it. And another piece of advice would be what I said earlier, was just play with other people, meet other people, become friends with other musicians, become friends with other drummers, jam with them, hang out with them, share your struggles with them. And it's a great way for a rising tide to lift all boats,
That's good. And what you said something very good about like seeing live performances. For example, I spent like maybe 3-4 months in Nashville a few years ago, and I think I was going out 5 nights a week after my show to see other shows. And I remember you said like one drummer like having his drumsticks like in a weird way, but he has a soul. And I remember one guy like maybe like 68, 70 years old playing with weird setup, and not easy for me. I cannot do the way he was playing, but he has so much soul. It was hard to recreate it, you know, and he was really into the blues and the folk, like so I think this, you cannot get that online. You need to go see that person and check it out in real, because it's really different. The vibe is different, and with the band, the communication. So that's why it's super good advices for the people they want to make it to go see live shows the most as they can when they can. Now, no, it's different, but in general,
I'm a little more. I'm one of those people who's a little more open-minded when it comes to learning on the drums. Some people are very closed-minded, like quote-unquote haters or something, where they might go out and all they can see is what they don't like about something.
Yeah.
You know, but I go out and I basically find something I like in almost everyone I see. I'd be like, wow, I love that snare drum sound, or I love the way I love that floor tom fill, or whatever. I take a little tidbit home and I just absorb it and put it into my playing. And I feel like I've been doing that forever.
But it's good, because I mean, you will back home and you will try to redo what you've got, instead to back home and say that was not really cool. You know, like you have a different perspective, and that will give you tool in your toolkit for playing with like better like skills in the future.
Yeah.
Well, the time is flying. Is already done. So, well, thank you so much for your time. It's just amazing. Please stay safe most as you can. Keep us where the people can reach you, like Facebook, Instagram. Where is the best place to reach you in general?
I mean, I have a website, www.brandonbuckley.com. That's where you can contact me, or Instagram, or Facebook, or Twitter, or whatever. There's a million ways to find me.
And last thing, I know we are hard, weird situation. What are your next plans, like in the closest plans?
Well, you know, I had a lot of tours coming up this year, 2020, with Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction, and then I was going to do Coachella with an artist named Nati Peluso, and then I was going to go to Asia with an artist named Jeff Chang for several months. So that's all postponed until the earliest October. Okay. So in the meantime, I've just been recording every day, and fortunately, I really thought that the economy was just going to shut down and no one was going to want to make music anymore. But it seems like people still want to make music, even if they're in their homes. So I'm actually mixing a record this week. I'm not a mixing engineer. I don't claim to be, but a friend of mine, I recorded his record a couple of years ago, and he asked me to mix it for him. So that's what I'm working on this week. So just hacking away at this, and I'm trying to do a lot of educational things for people, shooting videos and posting them of little exercises or things that they can learn about recording or practicing. You know, I love making music. I love talking about music. I love teaching music. So I feel like I'm just going to keep doing that until they open up the city again.
Soon. Soon, we hope soon. Well, thank you so much. I wish you all the best, and you're in the good path. Keep going like that, as you do, like as a good session drummer. And we'll try to follow you in all your website and all your tour.
Well, thank you. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for including me. And it was great for you to reach out, and I had a lot of fun.
Take care, buddy.
Everyone else had fun.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Before I go, just a few reminders. Tomorrow, there's a show in French. We'll have Camille Bellil, Olivier Savoie-Campo, et Stéphane Gaudreau. It's going to be at 8 p.m. The show next week, the English version, will be the next, like this week, on the Wednesday. We'll have Raul Vargas, Scott Pilgrim, Lou Santiago Jr., and Todd Zuckerman. Please be there. It will be very cool. You can go on the Instagram of Drumfills Kafé, the Facebook, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We will have more content every week, and every week there's a contest coming. So just stay tight with the channel. Thank you for being there. Please try to share the video. The video are always on the YouTube channel. So if you didn't have the chance to watch them all, you can go catch what you want, or the artists as you want. And last thing, you can help your local store or distributor or dealers for the drums or whatever, you need something, they will need your help because some won't survive. So if you had something in mind, maybe if they're closed for publics, most of them have online store, and keep going to help them, keep going practicing to your drums, and and stay safe. So I'll see you tomorrow for another show or next week for the World Edition. Thank you. Bye-bye.